I was getting booty and giving up booty. I was in a hole. They moved a dude next to me, and he had a real nice big bucket. I said, boy, I gotta get some of that. But he always say he ain't gay, so I'm gonna have to break him down another way. So I said, hey man, when you get time, just holler at me. You can stick your mirror out and look over in my cell. I can look in his cell. So I made sure I got a nice plump, a nice little fat butt on me, and I was bending over. I said, I know he's gonna look. So he said, damn.
Hey YouTube fam, so I found this absolutely wild story on Reddit and had to share it with you guys. The way this person tells their story is just, wow. I'm going to read it in their own words, so here goes. Y'all ain't gonna believe the transformation I went through. I went into the system as this quiet book nerd, always had my nose buried in some novel, thinking knowledge was power. Well, let me tell you something. Power ain't in them books when you're locked up with wolves. I remember walking through those gates like it was yesterday. Me, little Marcus, 145 pounds soaking wet, with glasses thicker than Coke bottles and a backpack full of fantasy novels. I was doing 7 to 10 for some computer nonsense, thought I was smarter than everybody. Turns out, I was just dumb enough to get caught. My mama cried at the sentencing, and I remember thinking, it's all right, mama. I'll be out in no time with good behavior. Good behavior don't mean squat when you're the size of a teenage boy and look like you'd rather discuss Tolkien than throw down. First night in Gen Pop, I might as well have been wearing a sign that said, fresh meat. The way those predators sized me up, licking their chops like I was Sunday dinner. Chills still run down my spine. The concrete walls seemed to sweat menace, and the air was thick with the scent of cheap soap and desperation. I tried to stick to myself, read my books, keep my head down. But in prison, keeping your head down just makes you an easier target. I learned that quick when my copy of The Hobbit got snatched and torn up right in front of me just for fun. 3 months in, I got assigned to the library detail, thought I'd won the lottery, surrounded by books, away from the general chaos. Little did I know, the library was its own kind of jungle. That's where I met Tyrone, the king of the library block. 6'4", muscles on muscles, with these eyes that seemed to see right through my defenses. He had this way of talking, smooth like honey, but with a buzz underneath that told you to watch your step. He started off friendly enough, asking what I was reading, making small talk. Then came the favors. First, it was just keeping an eye out for guards during his contraband drops. Then it was running messages then. Well, you can guess where this was heading. Each favor chipped away at my boundaries, like water wearing down stone. I told myself it was for protection, that I was being smart, playing the game. But really, I was just getting played. The first time it happened, I was in the library storage room. He backed me against the shelves, those big hands pinning my shoulders. I tried to fight, but it was like pushing against a brick wall. When he was done with me, I just slid down the wall and cried, my glasses askew, my dignity shattered. The smell of old paper and dust mixed with the coppery scent of my own blood where I'd bitten my lip. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the bottom of the bunk above me and realized my old self was gone forever. That was the beginning of my transformation. The book nerd started dying that day, and someone new started taking his place. Someone who learned that survival meant adapting, becoming what they wanted me to be. I started watching the queens, the ones who'd figured out how to make their femininity work for them instead of against them. I studied their walks, their talks, their attitudes. I learned to walk differently, talk differently, carry myself with this exaggerated femininity that somehow made me safer in that environment. The guards noticed, the inmates noticed, everyone had an opinion. But this new persona, this sissy version of Marcus, was the one who could navigate the dangerous waters of prison life. I learned how to bat my eyes at the right time, how to use a softer voice to disarm, how to swish my hips in a way that was both inviting and warning. Years passed like this. I became someone's property, then someone else's. I learned to find moments of humanity in the most degrading situations. I learned to dissociate, to go somewhere else in my mind while my body was being used. Sometimes I'd retreat into the worlds of my books, imagining I was a wizard or a warrior instead of what I'd become. Other times, I'd focus on the smallest details, the crack in the ceiling, the way light filtered through the barred window, anything to keep my mind from what was happening to my body. The breaking point came when I got sick, really sick. Pneumonia that landed me in the prison hospice ward. I was weak, barely conscious, but I could still feel hands on me, still hear voices. When I finally came to enough to understand what was happening, I realized it wasn't just inmates anymore. One of the guards was in on it too. That's when I knew I'd hit rock bottom. Not even the supposed protectors were safe. That's when something snapped in me.
So back to the hospital, there's only one guard because they all about to die. And it's one inmate. Why the inmate and the guard was back there? Hospice inmates. Because they're all weak. They got cancer and all type of AIDS, all type of different shit. They can't really fight back. If you go back, I only went back there once because I had to sign this thing because I didn't take the flu shot. They got the bag with the little IV shit. It's in the room like this. No medical and shit. Just a bed with the IV shit. The inmate and the guard was back there having sex with these men that was
So
on
the
hospice.
guard too?
Guard too. And guess now they got caught? They was taping it on the phone and lost the phone.
Damn.
Lost the phone in the jail. The guard found the phone and looked at the fucking footage. Said, "You see the inmates in there?" Like, "No, get up!" Trying to fight back, but they all hospice and sick and shit. I said,
Oh, man.
So
That is horrible.
Can you imagine you in jail? You've been in jail for 50 years. Now you about to die. You in hospice. It's
Then you
like,
get
that's why it's fucking you a guard. And you can't tell a guard because the guard is what you trying to tell is the one up in the board. I said, this shit is, you can't make this shit up. This shit is crazy, man.
The next day, when the doctor came in, I found the strength to tell him everything. The investigation that followed was a nightmare, reliving every violation, every moment of degradation, but it led to convictions. Both the inmate and the guard went down. For the first time in years, I felt a glimmer of hope, like maybe I could reclaim some piece of myself. When I finally walked out of prison, I was this completely different person. The book nerd was gone, replaced by this flamboyant, expressive man who moved through the world with a confidence that surprised even myself. I wore my sexuality like armor, my femininity like a crown. The first time I walked into a mall after getting out, I caught my reflection in a window and barely recognized myself. The hips swinging, the shoulders back, the head held high like I owned the world. People on the outside don't understand. They see a sissy and make assumptions. They don't know that this persona was born in fire, forged in the most brutal circumstances imaginable. They don't know that every sway of my hips, every flick of my wrist is a declaration of survival. They don't understand that the way I dress, the way I talk, the way I carry myself, it's all a testament to the fact that I'm still here, still standing when so many others would have broken completely. I'm Marcus, and I survived hell. And if you see me walking down the street, head held high, moving to my own rhythm, know that this freedom was bought at a price I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Every day is a victory. Every smile is an act of rebellion. Every moment of joy is a middle finger to the darkness that tried to consume me. The book nerd is dead. Long live the queen. The transition back to the free world wasn't no fairy tale, honey. First time I tried to use a smartphone, my hands were shaking so bad I couldn't even unlock the damn thing. Everything moved too fast. People talked too fast. Life moved too fast. I'd spent so many years surviving minute by minute that the idea of planning a whole day ahead felt like some kind of luxury I hadn't earned. My family didn't know how to handle the new me either. My mama kept asking when I was going to cut my hair, when I was going to start dressing normal. She meant well, but she didn't understand that this normal was my survival mechanism. The bright colors, the makeup, the unapologetic femininity. That was my armor against a world that had already tried to break me once. I found community in places I never expected. Drag queens who saw the strength in my story, transgender folks who understood what it meant to fight for your identity, other survivors who knew the look in my eyes without me ever saying a word. These people became my new family, my chosen tribe. They didn't see a victim or a freak. They saw a warrior who had made it through the fire and come out singing. Therapy helped some, but honestly, healing happened in the small moments. The first time I danced in a club and felt pure joy instead of fear. The first time I caught myself flirting with someone and realized it was because I wanted to, not because I had to. The first time I looked in the mirror and didn't flinch at what stared back at me. These moments added up, slowly but surely, into something that resembled a life worth living. Now I work at a community center helping at-risk youth. I tell them my story, not to scare them, but to show them that no matter how dark it gets, there's always a way back to the light. I see kids like the old me, bookish, awkward, thinking they've got it all figured out, and I want to grab them by the shoulders and shake them, tell them that the world is bigger and more complicated than they can imagine, but also more beautiful than they know. Some nights, the nightmares still come. I'll wake up gasping, feeling phantom hands on my skin, smelling that mix of disinfectant and despair that defined so many years of my life. But now, I have tools to fight back. I breathe deep. I ground myself in the present. I remind myself that I'm safe, that I'm free, that I survived. The nightmares have less power over me now, just shadows of a life I've left behind. I've learned to reclaim parts of the old me too. The book nerd didn't die completely, he just went into hiding for a while. These days, I've got a stack of books by my bed again,